Hi everyone! So today is a really boring and rainy day, so I decided that I was going to make another video. So I wanted to share this story because I feel that it might help people, but I also just, kind of want to get rid of the false illusion that is out there about being, I guess, a model and signing with a modeling agency. So I feel like a lot of people probably think that I just mainly model out here in New York and like that's how I make my money and that's my main source of income or whatever, but it's not true. So I mainly do hair and I also do makeup as a freelancer, and that has just been primarily my job since I've moved out here. So I'll just start with this. So when I moved to New York, I lived in a model apartment. It was actually the entire reason that I moved out here. So I was working actively as a model and like promo model and stuff in Florida, and I had an agency from New York message me about working a job in Orlando. So I messaged them back, I booked the job, it was super great. And from that point on, they just kind of kept emailing me different jobs and things, and I was still living out in Florida, so there was, no way for me to work any of the New York jobs that they were sending me. But they had randomly sent me this opportunity to live in a model apartment, and my job would be to go out with club promoters, and my rent was free. So I took the opportunity and I just moved to New York with 3 suitcases, and I lived in this model apartment, and my agreement was that I would go out 3 nights a week and I would only be out till like 2 or 3, and I'd live with like one other girl in my room. So it all sounded like super great and fine. It ended up just like not being what it was cracked up to be. I lived with some girls that lived in Poland and Russia, and kind of just got to see hands-on what their life was like. From seeing a lot of the things that they went through just in the short couple months that I lived with them, it honestly like really turned me off from wanting to pursue being a model out here. So a lot of them were just like constantly being shipped, to different places, different like environments, and they were constantly having to go to castings like all the time. It was just like casting, and the chance of you booking a job from a casting is just really, really slim. It's like going into a room with a bunch of people that, look like you, and it's fighting for, one job, and, hoping that you're going to get the job when, 90% of the time you don't. So I recently, messaged that agency who I was, I guess, signed with when I moved here, and I was like, I have a lot more free time now, like I would love to, potentially start, working with your agency again. So they were like, okay, awesome, come with a bikini and heels and your portfolio on Monday. And I was like, okay, cool. So I went into the agency, and the first thing they had me do was like fill out a piece of paper that had just like all my information on it, and then on the back it was just like check these boxes for different jobs that you would want to, possibly be submitted for. And I left all of the boxes blank for any kind of runway job. And the main woman who I was talking to and emailing with, she was like, okay, like, great, like, so you pretty much like are open to do like anything. I was like, yeah, like other than runway, like I don't feel comfortable like walking in heels and that are way too tall, and I'm just not skinny enough and all of the things. So she was just like, yeah, like you're, not tall enough to like even do runway. So I'm glad like you didn't check that. I was like, okay, cool. So as I'm filling out my paperwork, they took my like iPad, which was like my portfolio of like pictures and stuff, and like I kind of like heard them like snickering and like laughing at the photos. And I tried to just like not think that way, but it's very obvious to me now that they definitely were like making fun of my portfolio, which I just think is so disheartening, especially looking at their website and feeling like a lot of the models on their website did not have good photos at all. I'm not trying to be judgmental, but I just felt that, a lot of the photos that they had with their models on their website weren't as good as a lot of the ones that, I even came and presented them with. So she was like, what we're gonna have you do is put on your bikini and heels and go out here and tell everyone like, your experience with modeling. And I didn't get any like welcome or hello or anything from the 3 people that were there. So it was 1 guy and then 2 girls and then the main lady who I was talking to. So as I'm like sitting there like talking to them, no one's like bright-eyed, like engaging, happy. They're just staring at me like they just like are displeased with everything that I'm saying. So it just gave me like this really like, lack of confidence feeling, this just like you're not being kind or welcoming or anything. So like after I told her like my experiences and stuff, she was like, oh, so like you do a bunch of photo shoots like yourself, so like do you have like better pictures than this? Like referring to my portfolio. And I was like, I mean, yeah, I can give you like, all of the photos from all of the shoots that I've done, but in the past when I've like overwhelmed my book with photos, people are just like, this is way too many pictures, this is awful, like, like just don't ever like put 100,000 photos like in an album for people to view. So then this woman goes on to see that I work a part-time job and I only have 2 set days, which is Fridays and Saturdays, that I work, and she's practically arguing with me, trying to tell me that like if I need like a week's notice, that's just like too much time. And she's like, oh, well, I mean, there's a lot of times where like it'll just be like a day's notice, like you can get off work with like a day's notice, right? And I was like, sometimes I can, sometimes I can't, like I can't tell you, like every week is different. And she was just like wanting me to just be like, yeah, absolutely, like I totally will get off like whenever. I'm sorry, like you're not guaranteeing me an income, like I have bills to pay, like I have to like eat. So yeah, like this is like the 2 days out of the week that I need to make sure that I work. And as a model, the client has 90 days to pay, so you're not going to be seeing that money right away. So then she goes to ask like my shoe size, and I was like, it's like a 7.5 or 8, as it says on the paper. And she was like going back and forth like, oh, like do you think that you could like fit a 7? I was like, I don't know, like maybe, like literally expecting my foot to go into a smaller shoe size. Like I don't know if my foot's going to fit in a specific shoe that's smaller than what I ever usually wear. And then that's when she goes on to, ask me about my tattoos, and she's like, oh, so you only have your wrist ones? And I was like, well, I have my neck tattoo and then I have the one on my foot. And she was like, oh, so no foot modeling for you. And I was just like, like she was just being so rude to me. And so at the end, for the grand finale, they ask me to walk back and forth twice in my bikini and heels. So I have a male and then these nasty, like rude people staring at me. After I had already explained that I don't want to be a runway model, they want me to walk back and forth in heels. And I start walking just straight, and they were like, no, walk in a diagonal line. I was like, okay. So I walked in the diagonal line, and they're like, do it with more confidence. I'm like, how am I going to sit here and have confidence when I'm in a bikini and heels? in a room full of people who are so nasty. Like, I just, like, is anybody going to have confidence in that situation? So then, you know, another model had walked in and I had gone to change, and I hear them not being nice to her either, and I was just like, you know, I left there feeling so awful about myself, which shouldn't have been the case. Like, if I'm going to work any type of job in my life, like, I should not walk in and pretty much in the interview process feel terrible about myself. Like, that is just not an environment that anybody should ever put themselves in. I just want people to understand that, like, poor treatment for models is still very, very real, and the judgment that, you know, comes with, like, a lot of these agencies really up front is just not acceptable in my opinion. I don't care who you are. I don't think that it's ever okay for you to walk into a situation and feel the way that I felt. Like, being a model, like, really sucks. Most of the time you're not making enough money. If you're not with the right agency, a lot of them will put you in debt, so you'll be constantly working and you'll be bringing home nothing. They don't have your back with so many situations. They're constantly wanting to change you, constantly wanting to make you smaller or, you know, like, different. Like, if you have a tattoo or if, you know, your foot's not the right size, like, they want to change you. And it's just crazy to me that this is, you know, an industry that so many people probably desire and want to be like, but it's just not great. So I kind of just want to shed some light on this situation and know that, like, we don't have to accept this treatment and that you don't have to work for people who don't treat you right. I hope that you guys enjoyed listening to me rant about a modeling agency, and, you know, this is one of many reasons why I'll probably never sign with an agency again, unless it is, you know, someone that I know is going to get me work and it's not going to be a full commitment and they're not going to treat me nasty. But for all of you young girls out there, I just don't want anybody to ever be, you know, put into a situation where you feel less than who you really are, because, you know, you can really do anything that you want in this life. And I don't think compromising any part of yourself or how you're treated should ever, you know, be what you accept in something that you take in order to just have a paycheck. So I hope that you guys stay inspired and that you have a wonderful rest of your day. I will be going back to my boring day off, but thank you if you took the time to watch this video. I hope that you subscribe and like it for me.